Hey, it's Breaking the News Plus. I am Jana Shortle, and tonight we're going to talk about sports because the deal is finally done. A-Rod and Mark Lowry own the Minnesota Lynx and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yes, I say them in that order because I'm a huge Lynx fan. You guys know that. To talk about it is one of my favorite columnists in these Twin Cities and beyond, Jim Souhan, Star Tribune, who has lots of knowledge and lots of opinions on all things sports. Jim, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Jana. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So you wrote just 48 hours ago, okay, guys, you got the team. It's going to be official. Here's some things that you should and shouldn't do. And like always, you're very blunt, and you had a pretty short list, but what'd you add on that?
Well, I think the most important thing is it's a very strange thing for sports ownership, right? They have proven themselves in other fields to get in a position where they can own a sports team. They had to have big egos. They probably had to be somewhat ruthless in their other in their other fields to get to this point. So now you take over a sports team, and the best way to operate a sports team is to check your ego at the door, defer to other experts, and stay in the background, which is an odd thing for people this rich and sometimes this powerful to do. But that's what they need to do. They are inheriting the Lynx and Wolves, buying the Lynx and Wolves at a point where they've never been this good at the same time ever before. The Wolves had one run before, and it was 2004, and then the Lynx came. The Lynx won all those championships. This is the best it's ever been. This is the best these organizations have ever been run. You have Cheryl Reeve and Tim Connolly, two of the best in the business at running teams, formulating rosters. So if they want to succeed, the best thing they can do is come in, write the checks, stabilize the business, and stay out of the way.
Right, great point. And I think they said as much. I read an interview with your colleague John Krasinski over at The Athletic. They said as much. They're like, we have Tim Connolly, who's proven to be pretty damn good at his job over on the Wolves side. And Cheryl Reeve, I mean, there is no other. She's the GM and the head coach at the Lynx. She's got 4 titles. She's been to several championships. She's got the best record in the W right now. Don't mess that up. Do you think they can do
exactly
that?
Right. Well, I've been dubious. I knew Alex Rodriguez when he was a baseball player. Alex spent however many years in baseball, and he left with about 3 people in baseball who trust him. And he loves the spotlight. He does have a huge ego. And he also cheated as a baseball player. And then you have Lowry, who has succeeded, obviously, as a business person. But if you read a lot about him, he has some very interesting ideas. Interesting is the nicest word I can think of for them. And if you talk to some behind-the-scenes Timberwolves employees, they weren't always thrilled the way Alex tried to Bigfoot things or the way Lowry would make some very weird suggestions. So the potential is there for them to come in and just be good, stable owners. Will their egos allow them to do that? We won't know that for a number of years, probably.
Okay. The big thing that they came out with basically a 3-minute video today that that was kind of curated by the Timberwolves and Lynx, and they basically said a couple of things. We are going to get out of the way, and the big thing they wanted to say, they claim, is that they will not move this team ever. Can we trust that, or is it just like a politician saying they're not going to run for president, and then 6 months later they run for president?
I don't think you have to necessarily trust them to trust the statement. Minnesotans have always been paranoid about the teams moving, or the Twins threatened to move. They were never going to move. They were lies. Carl Paul had lied about moving the team. The Wolves really came close to moving once, and Glenn Taylor saved them. Now this is a very good basketball market. This is not one of the smaller markets in the NBA. Small markets can succeed in the NBA, as we've seen with Oklahoma City, Indiana, San Antonio in the past. There's just no reason to move the team. The only reason to move the team, and really the only, other than the only team that really did move was all because Norm Green got nailed for sexually harassing his employees and got embarrassed and got taken by some people in Dallas. So that was really an oddity. Teams really don't move here, and the leagues don't want teams to move here because it is a good market. So I just don't see that happening. I also think there are ways, whether it's private financing, whether it's a reasonable tax deal, there are ways of getting a new arena built, and that I don't think would be that painful.
Will the arena stay downtown, though?
That is, to me, that's the big question. I don't see the team moving out of state. The question is, would they rather stay downtown and kind of continue what's going on, which is a really good vibe, really good game night atmosphere, help the downtown recover? I live downtown. I would really like to see that. I'm very selfish about that. Or would they rather go the suburban route where you can kind of build developments around the arena and maybe get some money out of, being partnering with developers or being the developer? That's attractive to a lot of people. I think it's too early to know what direction they're going to go. My guess is they're going to try to.
All right. That's all for us on Breaking the News Plus. Thanks for joining Jim and I as we talk Timberwolves. He's back!
Sorry about that.
Did you fall down?
Modern technology, no, I got a phone call. I didn't know how to block it, so my bad.
That's okay. All right, so you don't think that they're not going to move the team because that's silly. We don't know the future of the arena. They have been kind of hedging their bets. They want a new one. That's pretty obvious because the Target Center does have some outdated facets to it. I want to ask you lastly, Jim, about the Minnesota Lynx. Throughout this entire process, we've heard next to nothing about what the future of the Lynx is under new ownership. And I think the reason that fans had a lot of those questions is because, say what you want about Glenn Taylor, but he was passionate about this Minnesota Lynx team, so passionate that he holds a special place in that organization. From their first title, they all wanted to play for an owner that wanted that team to succeed and was willing to invest in them. So does this new ownership have much interest in owning the Lynx, in your opinion?
I think they do, and this is a great time for the Lynx to be bought because they aren't in the, they aren't in the begging stages anymore. Women's sports, unfortunately, usually have to beg for their way, where men's sports get the investment up front and people are willing to lose money on men's sports. Now, the WNBA is a growth stock. It is a valuable growth stock, and Lori and Rodriguez own the best WNBA franchise. So even if they don't care about women's basketball as fans, they will care about the Lynx because the Lynx are going to make them money.
That's well said, because that's kind of Lori's, A-Rod, everybody knows his backstory, professional baseball player, pro, millionaire in that route. But Lori's really the bigger money side of this, and a guy that has a background in startups and a person that's going to understand what a growth stock is. I mean, you hope that they have interest. And they did say, this was also something I wanted to ask you about, they're going to serve as co-chairman as governors. Lori assuming the role of Timberwolves governor and A-Rod as the alternate governor. And then A-Rod is the governor for the Lynx. Why are they using the word governor and alternate governor? What does that mean?
I don't know that it means anything. I think their plan is to partner in running both teams. I think they just, I don't know. I don't really get why they did it that way. It might mean nothing, and nothing might ever come of that. The danger is you put things in writing, and down the road, if these two people aren't getting along, then maybe it creates some awkwardness. I don't really think it alters anything. I don't think it means anything. I wouldn't have put that in writing, but I can't tell you it's not going to work out.
What is your parting advice to these new owners? You've talked about a few things you suggest. What's the first thing they can do on day one of the job?
Day one, work really hard at doing absolutely nothing. Do as little as possible. And when somebody like Conley or Reeve asks you to write a check, write the check with a smile. And if you want to win over this fan base, obviously winning is the number one thing, but they also hate the perception that they're in a small market and they can't spend. That's why the Pohlads actually ran a good organization in a lot of ways, ran a good business operation. They were good to their employees, but they didn't spend on free agency, which made it look like they didn't care about winning. Just don't leave any doubt in the fans' minds. And if you spend money and you let your good people work, everybody's going to end up liking these people, even maybe me.
In Jim Souhan, we trust. Thank you, friend.
Well, let's not go that far.
True story. Thanks for joining us on Breaking the News Plus. We'll see you next time, Jim. And we will see you next time tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Take care.